Hey, Happy New Year. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Ed Fox. I'm CTO at MetTel, and I'm here to give some of my thoughts on 2025 in the networking space. Um, in general, I think 2025 year is a year of massive IT infrastructure growth. We hear a lot about edge compute and the predicted growth on edge compute. I do think we will see that edge grow, particularly as AI moves towards the edge. And we work with a lot of vendors that are making sure that the edge is ready for a lot of different things, including those inference applications that are going to start moving to the edge. We actually service a lot of retail that are doing this already. So I do believe that'll take off in 2025. We see numbers out there like 75% of data will be processed outside the data center um, next year and the next 2 years. I think that's a little aggressive, but I do think we'll see massive growth in edge compute. Um, I think we'll still see massive growth in the public cloud by the hyperscalers, and I think we'll still see, and I see this with our customers today, private enterprise data centers are growing as well. Ours being one of them all over the world. So I think there's a lot of growth. I think most of it's driven by AI, and I will say on the edge side in particular, it kind of follows the broadband model, for lack of a better comparison. It used to be that you can get great bandwidth at home as a consumer, but you couldn't get it at work. And right now we have edge compute on our phones, but we really don't have it at work. So I do think that that's going to change, and it's going to kind of follow that model. Um, I do think that all this growth, and particularly in the public cloud space, I think the doomsayers that there's not enough power out there to actually power up all this AI that we're doing in the cloud these days. I do think in 2025, one of the really interesting things we'll see is the small modular reactors that are nuclear based. There's a couple that are already with the National Nuclear Registry and getting OKs for POC next year. And you see it in the news. You see the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Googles all teaming up and funding SMR companies, which I think is going to be a really, really important thing coming in 25. Uh, all this AI and all this distributed applications, I think is going to change the network also. There's so much in the news about where all these applications are going, and there's not many people talking about how they're going to get there and how this information is going to be transferred. So I think we have a lot more respect coming for the networks and a lot of change as well. We have certain SD-WAN applications today that will actually identify out of the box, well over 5,000 native applications. And I know one of our vendors is working very closely to try to identify different AIs that are being sent over the wire or on an overlay over a network, and protecting those differently than others. Um, I think on the non-terrestrial network side, the satellite space, particularly the LEO space, I think that's exploding for networks. We do a lot of it today, and I think next year is going to be the biggest year that we'll have. There's many other players in there. I think that not only extends, AI functionality to remote areas like oil and gas rigs, for example, or places that couldn't get that technology, that speed or that bandwidth, all of a sudden will become part of the network, a major part of the network. So I think that's a big change as well. Private 5G seems like it's shown up on the network side, and I think all these things are kind of packaged in the mobile edge compute or the edge compute space as well. So they have all these enablers from all the different sides finally coming together, which is I'm really excited about. Clearly, you can see that. um, and then and on a much less sexy part of the spectrum, I think the network wise, you see a lot of POTS news out there where the AT&Ts, the Verizons, the Lumens of the world are discontinuing that part of their business, and the FCC or local state departments are allowing them to do so. So I do think we're going to see finally those POTS lines actually really disappear in 2025 significantly. Um, I think for my third one, I think on the security front, I think it's going to be a year of, let's encrypt everything. Everything's got to be encrypted. From the the latest news with the FBI and NSA telling everyone to actually encrypt text messages between Android and iPhone or iOS, um, down to quantum inspired algorithms that are out there now, that just either provide more secure encryption or on the opposite side of the house, are easier to hack the encryption we have today. So I think there's a lot of work actually on the good guy side and the bad guy side that's going to happen in 2025 in that respect. And I think, we've been talking about, I've been talking about distributed applications and edge, private data center, cloud. I think from a security standpoint and an encryption standpoint, we're opening up the attack service, to a huge realm. Like it's expanding so much for just data. So I think that encryption becomes more and more important. And I also think I'm a big proponent of the blockchain. And I do think that, if you think about where most of the biggest breaches come from and where the bad guys take information from, it's always like one system that they hacked. And they get all this information about customers or users or, credit card information attached to a user, whatever it may be. I do think that decentralized identity management is really going to start to come to the forefront in 2025. I think that's one of those places where that distributed type of I don't need to call it blockchain because that probably gets so tied into cryptos, but it's decentralized authentication with multiple different authenticators on a network. So it's much more difficult to actually hack. I think we'll see some of that in 2025. And I'm really excited about it.